Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach.
And I'm Pepper.
And today we're going to do our CHIPPI ratings of Bunny Kingdom.
Yes. And I brought into consideration the expansion as well that we own, In the Sky.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you did, but I did.
Yeah, I think I probably did. I think that's kind of influenced my rating a little bit. Because, I went back and looked at kind of how I had it rated before, and it changed slightly.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably mainly based on an expansion because we typically play with it. The playthrough we did for the channel did not include the expansion. So if you'd like to see that, definitely leave a comment below. We can try that as well.
5 million likes on this video.
5 million likes, and we will do it.
We'll
do it live.
We'll do it live.
But no, we will start out with the core mechanics of the game.
Core mechanics. What'd you give this?
I ended up giving it a 9 out of 10
Ooh,
on the core mechanics.
Pretty high.
It's just a solid. The main thing in the whole game, I believe, I would say, is drafting. I think that's probably the biggest thing.
Yep, card drafting.
And then it's area control, probably is the next one, and then kind of the end game scoring cards, scoring points via the parchments.
Yep.
So all those things are kind of combined together, but they're all kind of driven from that original drafting of the cards. And it's just so smooth the way it works. Even and with the different player counts, especially from a 2-player game to a 3, 4, or 5-player game, the way they add in a 2-player game where you have your own additional pile of cards that you're drawing one up each time to add to your hand of drafting cards, to being able to discard that. I really like how they added that to a 2-player game to make it work a lot better, I think. But then still a 3 or 4, 5-player game if you have the expansion for the 5-player. I think that runs just as smoothly, and just the fact that it's just like most drafting games, I think it's simultaneous, which keeps the flow of things going. So I think the drafting itself is just so solid, and that's just something that I tend to like in games is drafting, card drafting especially. But then this area control in this game is something I enjoy as well, because there's some interesting things about it where you're trying to kind of get them clumped together, but then at the same time you are trying to get some different resource types.
Sometimes a parchment will say score your second largest fief twice, so maybe you want to kind of build 2 separate ones, or control 7 wood or something like that.
Just the way all of those things come together just feels really, really solid, and really it just works so smoothly. It never really feels like disconnected, like one part of it doesn't feel disconnected from the rest. It just all kind of comes together in a really smooth, efficient package.
I think that is the key word for me as well, smooth. How everything flows, the drafting is so quick. I like that it's different in 2-player, like you said, and I don't know which I like more, if I like where you get to just draft 2 cards out of your hand, which is getting a lot of really good stuff most of the time, especially with the expansion, adding in a lot of new cool cards, or in the 2-player, taking 1 card and throwing one strategically based on what your opponent might want. I really love both those aspects, and they play very differently. I also like the area control, as you said. It's not really like a lot of area control can have some combat in it and kind of things moving around on the board. This is you just draft it and you get it, which I like. It seems like it might be too simple, but I actually really like that.
I really like how that works, and I would say that it could be frustrating if you really like area control games, because, like you said, you can't move them really once they're there, outside of if someone plays a camp card, which allows you to just kind of put it in any spot that isn't occupied by something, but then can later be picked up or removed, and you could place yours there if you end up drafting that card later on that associated to that space.
really like the parchment cards as well. There's so many interesting ones that can really change how you play the game, and you can score a lot of points in that. And speaking of scoring, the way you score, you multiply your resources by your spires on your castles. Is a really unique kind of balance you have to strike between those. You can get a ton of resources, but if you don't have castles, you're not going to score them.
Right, and vice versa. You have a lot of castles.
Yeah.
If you only have the base 3 resources, realistically, I would think the most you could probably get is maybe 10 spires.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time, you could get more. You could get more.
If you got really
if you were
lucky with
focusing on just getting those,
Yeah.
you could get more. But typically, I would think that's about as high as you're going to get.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah. And last thing here with kind of the mechanics, how the game plays. Well, one, it's quick, and it really ramps up throughout the game. Because you start off and you maybe get 2, maybe even 0 points in your first round. But by the end of the game, I mean, if you've gotten lucky with your map placement, you can score like 50 to 60, 70 points from your fiefs. And it's really great to see it grow on the board and get those points.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So that ended up being a 10.
A 10.
Perfect 10 for mechanics.
10. I can see it. So that brings us into history, which we've played this game, especially with the expansion. We've played it over 10 times easily.
Yeah, easily.
So that gets a 10 out of 10 from us.
Yep, 10.
Then we go into investment. So this is kind of the investment of time, kind of the replayability of the game. If does it feel like the game is too long? Like, does it outstay its welcome? Does any part of the game kind of feel like, this isn't? So what did you rank that?
I gave that a 9. There is some setup with the huge deck of cards, and you have to place the cities out on the map, and with the new board you have to place those resources in the sky. But for me, with the replayability, with all those parchment cards and with the expansion now, I think there's a lot of different paths you can go. Like in this game that we just played, I went for heavy fish, and I used that parchment card that scored 2 per fish, and I got 20 points off of that, and I had never seen any of those type of cards score that high. So there's definitely a lot of different things that you can go, a lot of routes to go.
Right, yeah. It's just a shame you didn't also get because you got the bigger one as well. If you would have got the 1 point one, that would have been 10
Another
points
10
as well.
Yeah.
And those ones usually seem to stick around longer, so it could have been an easy one to pick up, or potentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I also gave it a 9 as well. I like how the game ramps up. It doesn't really overstay its welcome. Because I feel like as the game is getting near its end, I still feel like I want to just do a little bit more. But I think if it was like 1 round longer, I think it might feel too long. And I don't think that it would work with the number of cards. But I mean, even if it did work if they added more cards or something, I don't know that I would want it to be 1 round longer. I think it's about the perfect amount, because like you said, it kind of ramps up to where that last round you get 50, 60, 70 points, and I feel like if you win another round, then it might get to be too extreme almost. And then the simultaneous turns keeps the pace pace up the entire game. It's just one of those good things about drafting, that you can kind of just keep doing it. Just a few of the things where dealing out the cards each round takes a little bit, because you're dealing out 10 or 12 cards, I think, depending on the player count. And then the initial setup, there's a few things, and if you want to shuffle the cards really well, there's enough cards even without the expansion that it's kind of, you have to split it and then kind of shuffle them separately and then kind of mix them together. So if you wanted to shuffle them decently well, it's going to take you a little while. And then I do agree that the parchments keep it like feeling different from game to game, but at the same time, I could see where
there are probably some that you're gonna favor from game to game, and some you might not go with.
So I feel like this game could feel like the samey from game to game, but I really enjoy what the game is.
I think there's enough.
I could see
really good ones that I enjoy. Sure, there are some that aren't as great in my mind that I don't get as excited for when I see them in my hand. But I think there's enough there to keep me entertained from play to play.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. But I could see where
and again,
it would be something that someone might if they don't like the game as much initially, I think it would get old.
Yeah.
It would feel. I could see it feeling the same.
But yeah, for us,
plays.
after however many plays, dozens of plays, and still enjoying every time and wanting it to get to the table. It's obviously replayable for us.
Right, and then that brings us to presentation, which I gave a 9.75. I didn't quite give it the 10, just because there's just a few things about it. Kind of the player colors, they're fine. They work, but I feel like I would have wanted something just slightly different. I think the red feels off a little bit.
The red feels a little
I feel
off.
like it should be like some other pastel type color, and then maybe the black as well kind of feels off. So I think if you had to switch those, maybe, but I don't. It's hard to tell without it like there in front of me, so I can't say for sure. It's not like they're awful.
Yeah.
It's still a 9.75, which is almost perfect.
The pink and the purple from the expansion are phenomenal colors.
Right.
They fit perfectly with it.
Right, because I think I would have liked that better, and then just kind of placing some of the things out on the board. I think otherwise, I think the box size, something I tend to care about, is it feels just right for this game. And especially it fits the expansion in there, so that's really great.
That is good.
The insert actually works better than most.
I was going to say, I had to write that down because it looks like a basic insert. It's just like
cardboard.
Lines of cardboard with 6 different sections, but it really does work.
Right.
The cards fit perfectly in there, so you can dedicate 2 spots to those, you can dedicate 2 spots to the bunnies, and 2 spots to the castles. And there's never really been a mess when we opened it up.
No.
Even though the castles are all loose in there.
Yes,
it's always
100% true. Because I've gotten to the point where I really am like, I'm starting to just take out all these cardboard inserts because they just don't really actually seem to work for the games. Like it's not, but like this one, it's really solid. It works for at least the way we package it.
Yeah,
it really works. So I like that. And then the presentation too. I just love, like you said, as you're building it out, it just starts to really look really good. Has really great table presence to it. So.
This is getting a perfect 10 from me. The bunnies are awesome. Some people could say they're small, but I think they're a good size. And I think you can see them out on the board pretty good with the different colors and tell them apart. But again, the insert. I love the boards, maybe one of the best looking boards, especially when you put the cool castles and bunnies on there. One of my favorite looking boards. And there's a lot of color and even more color with the expansion. And I might be some of my favorite art on the cards in this game.
Yeah, I agree.
It's cutesy with bunnies, but it's also not over the top cutesy. So it doesn't look like a complete cartoon Hello Kitty something. So I really like the balance that they struck with that, kind of keeping it grounded, but also having it very cute and very colorful. Yeah,
I will agree. The cards are solid. The cards are for sure a 10 out of 10 because they have really great artwork, and just the way they were structured and put together is flawless. They're some of the best cards, I think, in any game that utilizes a lot of cards. I agree with that. So 9.75, 10, pretty much the same thing. Pretty solid in our opinion. And preference, so kind of how you prefer this one taken off the shelf versus other games, or how often you like to get it to the table type thing.
Can you see where this is going? This is going to be a perfect 10 out of 10 for preference for me. If you watched our top 10 games of all time video, or our top 50 series, you saw that this ended up in my top 10 of all time. So yes, I am happy to play this any day. I absolutely love it. It's beautiful. I love the gameplay. I'll always be willing to play it.
That's about all I got to say on that. For preference, I gave it a 9.5. But with the expansion, I think it actually had gone up for me quite a bit, because I think it was an 8.5 I had before, so it went up quite a bit more. And this is one that I would be willing, or I would suggest it actually as a game that I want to play. There's some games that won't quite as often.
Yeah.
I mean, unless I all of a sudden see it, I'm like, I haven't played that in a while. This one is one that even if I've played it recently, I will still suggest it.
Yeah.
Probably that same week,
Yeah.
potentially. And then, the simultaneous turns, like I said, just keep it going so quickly that it's like it's a game that can be played multiple player counts in a relatively short amount of time.
We had recently played it with 5 players, I believe, with the expansion, and that went pretty quickly.
Yeah, so that's one thing that, it opens it up to being able to be played anywhere from 2 to 5. So that's always a great thing in my mind, because some games just, once you get into the 4 or 5 player counts, they kind of bog down and add another hour or 2 to gameplay. That I don't see that happening with this one. So it's definitely one that I will suggest if there's a larger group. Yeah. I would say this is one of the ones, if I'm not looking for something that's like as thinky, and I want something a little quicker, this is probably one of the top ones that I would want to play.
Nice.
Yeah, so I said that was a 9.5 for me, right? And lastly, we got the It Factor. And I'll just give it a 10 for the It Factor.
Ooh. I ended up giving this, I actually gave it 9 point something, but I didn't write the point something. I think it was 9.5. This was. This is.
You gotta speak for 9.5.
9.5 to 10. Well, I didn't want to have. What is that? That would be 5 10s on there. And I'm like, and then you kind of got to think at this point about other games that exist, and their It Factor, or I think kind of table presence comes into this a lot, and just the look of a game. And I think the theme, I mean, as ridiculous of a theme it is, I think it really comes through with the artwork.
The artwork brings it through.
I mean, I don't feel like I'm building groups of bunnies, but I mean, I get to enjoy the theme, I guess I should say, with this one, where some other ones, it's like, it's a theme and it's nice, but I don't feel it. I do feel it here. I feel like, oh, there's my bunny. But yeah, I don't know. I think just mostly on the production and the table presence is the It Factor for me.
Yeah, and I gave it a 10 for a lot of those same reasons. And the theme of the bunnies is something unique, something different, which I really enjoy the theme. I don't know that it comes through as much for me, but yeah, it does. The artwork on the cards do bring it out a little bit more, because it's got a little bit of that almost humor type side to some of the cards, which I really like. It's just fun to kind of look at some of those cards. And that's what I really like drafting. That's one of my favorite things. And just the drafting of this is probably one of the smoothest drafting almost all the games I've played. And then I think the things that put it over the top for me are those solid, amazing cards. Like I said, I think they might be some of my favorite cards in any drafting game.
I agree.
And the fun artwork on them. It just makes it stick out to me. As one, the table presence that I just want to see. I want to get out. I get excited. When I see, when we take it out. So I feel like if it's one that I get really excited about, it's got to have an It Factor 10. Which gives me an overall score of a 9.4.
This gave me an overall score of a 9.8.
Wow, that's almost perfect. So
that is almost perfect. I would say for me, this is a perfect game. I adore this game. I love it so much. But yeah, I'm just happy whenever I get to make a top 10 of all time list and get to put it on there. I just get excited. If I get excited for that, then that means I love the game. I didn't think I could love it anymore, and then the expansion came out, and I'm like, okay, am I going to like this? Is this going to mess with it? But it just made it even better. It brought more great cards. It made the bad cards in the original game even better. And I mean, that's a perfect expansion, I think, for this game. And just altogether, perfect game for me. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I see it as pretty much perfect as well, or pretty close for sure. It's one that, I would definitely highly recommend. It's one of those, probably after you've maybe played Catan or Carcassonne or Ticket to Ride, if you're kind of looking for maybe that next step. I could see this one being one of those, because think the rule book, I don't remember, it's relatively short. So I think it's easy enough to learn.
Yeah.
Or if you've maybe played Dominion, I mean this.
Yeah.
That's kind of that's more deck building.
Yeah.
I was thinking you kind of take the cards up off the table, but I would definitely highly recommend it as well.
Yeah.
I think we would give this one a full high recommendation.
2 golden carrots up.
2 golden carrots up. Maybe even 3 golden carrots.
Ooh.
Never know. Never know if you're. But no, that is our CHIPPI rating.
This might be our
on the Funny
highest
Kingdom.
average of any CHIPPI we've done.
I think it might, and I think there might only be a couple other games that could potentially beat this score, but we will have to see those at some other point. But yeah, if you've made it this far, we thank you for watching, and if you like the video, leave us a thumbs up, possibly subscribe to see future content, future CHIPPIs, future playthroughs, future first impressions, all the good stuff. And anything else to say about this perfect game?
It's perfect.
We will see you next time, and as always, do not forget to
keep on nibbling
on our content.